Good afternoon, respected Monica Mom, and everyone present here. Today we will be presenting on the canon, Bard theory of emotion. Firstly, we would like to acknowledge Kathmandu University School of Management for providing us with this platform and opportunity to express our views and ideas on the following topic and expand our knowledge. Today, we will be covering the following topics: Introduction to the theory. How does this theory works? Examples of the theory, comparison with other theories, criticism of the theory, takeaways, and conclusion.
Let's start with the introduction of the canon Bard theory first. The canon Bard theory states that stimulating events trigger feelings and physical reactions that occur at the same time. According to canon Bard's theory of emotion, physiological arousal and emotional experience occur simultaneously, yet independently. Talking about canon Bard, do you think canon Bard is one person? Now, ladies and gentlemen, canon and Bard are two different individuals. Walter Cannon and Philip Bard developed the canon Bard theory in the 1920s and early 1930s. Walter Bradford Cannon was a physiologist at Harvard University, perhaps best known for his classic treatise on homeostasis. Meanwhile, Philip Bard was a doctoral student of Cannon, and together they developed the model of emotion called the canon Bard theory. The canon Bard theory states that the lower part of the brain, also called the thalamus, controls your experience of emotion. At the same time, the higher part of the brain, also called the cortex, controls the expression of emotion. It is believed that these two parts of the brain react simultaneously. In short, the canon Bard theory of emotion, also known as the thalamic theory of emotion, explains that the lower part of the brain, what neurologists call the thalamus, controls emotional experience. So how does this theory work? All human beings react to emotional stimulus, and the two different parts of the brain, the thalamus and amygdala, control the emotional and physical response to the stimulus. When we react to a stimulus through any of our five senses, it could be associated with the canon Bard theory of emotion. According to canon Bard's theory, emotions occur when the thalamus receives a stimulus resulting in a physiological reaction. When we experience an event that makes us react with our senses, it will be received by the thalamus, then the thalamus transfers the information to the amygdala. Amygdala is an important part of the brain that plays an important role in emotion processing, which also includes emotions such as fear and anger. The thalamus also sends the signal to the autonomic nervous system, which brings out physical reactions such as muscle tension, shaking, and sweating. Cannon and Bard conducted an experiment on both animals and human beings with brain damage and also reviewed his research on them. Through this theory, he concluded that the thalamus is involved with physical reaction, whereas the cortex is responsible for controlling the reaction. This theory could be further explained with the help of the following examples. When we are exposed to something, we react according to it. As an example, let's take conditions like a frightening experience. Imagine that you are walking to your car through a darkened parking garage. You hear the sounds of footsteps trailing behind you, and spot a shadowy figure slowly following you as you make your way to your car. According to the canon Bard theory of emotion, you will experience feelings of fear and physical reaction at the same time. You will begin to feel fearful, and your heart will begin to race. You rush to your car, lock the doors behind you, and rush out of the parking garage to head home. Another example of it could be the first day of your job. Imagine that you are starting a new job. Your first day can be stressful. You'll be meeting new coworkers, making first impressions, learning more about your role, and participating in training or meetings. Cannon-Bard's theory suggests that you would experience both physical and emotional signs of stress simultaneously. You might feel nervous and experience an upset stomach. Adding more, going on a date, or meeting the person you like. You have a first date with someone you may like romantically. You hear the knock on your door and immediately experience butterflies in your stomach as you feel excited and happy. You experience both physical and emotional responses, including feelings of happiness and excitement as well as sweaty palms and a rapid heartbeat. Lastly, divorce of parents. Children also experience physical and emotional effects in response to significant events. An example is the separation or divorce of their parents. Imagine you're 8 years old. Your parents just told you that they're separating and will probably get a divorce. You feel sad and angry. Your stomach is upset. You think you might be sick. As a parent, seeing your child run out into the road might be a horrific experience for us. You're spending some time in the park with your child. Suddenly, you see your little one run after a ball that's heading in the direction of a nearby road. You feel a sudden jolt of fear as your heart beats fast and you scream and run after your baby. As there are other theories of emotion too, let's see how the Cannon-Bard theory differs from other theories. Both the James Lange and Cannon-Bard theories of emotion investigated whether emotions originated from a source central or peripheral to the nervous system. James Lange assumes that the bodily reactions themselves elicit conscious emotions. But Cannon objects that the latency of physiological responses to emotion is too long to account for the immediacy of emotional behavior. He also argues that artificially inducing bodily reactions to emotion does not in itself produce emotions. To illustrate the contrast from which these 5 objections arise, consider somebody who is afraid of dogs. The dog barks within range of the person, and the person is aroused, according to the James Lange theory of emotion. Meanwhile, according to the Cannon-Bard theory of emotion, the dog's bark triggers 2 separate regions of the brain, the thalamus and the cortex. Because the dog triggers the cortex, which controls physical reactions, the person trembles. However, the person feels fear because the bark triggers their thalamus, which controls conscious feeling of emotion. Singer's 2-factor theory of emotion. In the Schachter-Singer 2-factor theory of emotion, one does a conscious cognitive appraisal of their physiological response, labels that response, and feels the emotion that results. Neither physiological nor cognitive arousal in itself is enough to elicit an emotion, according to Schachter-Singer. The Cannon-Bard theory maintains that emotional experience occurs simultaneously to and independent of physiological arousal. Now let's talk about some criticism made by critiques for the Cannon-Bard theory. Firstly, the theory places too much emphasis on the role of thalamus in emotions. It only emphasizes on the role of thalamus during the process of emotion formation. However, it ignores the role of other parts of the brain that contribute in the process of emotion formation. Research also suggests that other parts of brain also play an important role in emotions. Secondly, physical reactions do not lead to emotions. Cannon-Bard theory of emotion says that physical reactions does not contribute to forming emotions. However, research shows that if people are asked to display physical reactions such as smiling or rage, people often tend to develop those emotions as well. Lastly, Cannon's theory for its overextension beyond the evidence provided by the Cannon-Bard experiments. Cannon-Bard theory assumes things that were not even attained through the experiments. For example, he goes on to extend his model of emotions to joy, grief, and disgust despite his experiment being conducted only on decorticated cats' sham rage. Therefore, to sum it all up with the key takeaways, the Cannon-Bard theory of emotion suggests that physical and emotional reactions to stimuli are experienced independently. At the same time, research into emotional processes in the brain is ongoing, and theories continue to evolve. This was one of the first theories of emotion to take a neurobiological approach. It states that the lower part of the brain, what neurologists call the thalamus, controls emotional experience. Meanwhile, the higher part of the brain, the cortex, controls emotional expression. These feelings, which takes place through the thalamus, and physical reactions, which takes place through the cortex, occur at the same time. The Cannon-Bard of emotion has greatly influenced modern research into emotional processing and the brain. However, both theories have garnered great criticism for their overgeneralization of emotion and contradictions between theory and evidence dating as far back to Cannon's own research. This is because research has shown that other regions of the brain besides the thalamus are involved in the experience of emotions. Other studies have also shown that physical responses can influence how you feel, which would mean that experience and expression of emotions don't always happen at the same time. Thank you everyone for listening. Hope you all enjoyed and learned something new.